Today we are on the hunt for iris borers. I know they're so gross. Best time to catch them is during the bloom season up until 3 weeks after your tall bearded irises. So when we look through these, we kind of want to look at the base. And when we're looking at the base, we just want to see that green color all the way through. All right, here I noticed a definite telltale sign for iris borers, and that's having a brown leaf in the middle of the bunch. If I go down lower, I can see some spots that look dirty. The best way to tell if there's one in there is to kind of pull apart the sides. And if you don't see any munching, then you're good. So that might be okay. But then I look at this one, and again, I see right next to it that brown leaf right in the middle. I see what looks like down low what we call sugar. It just kind of looks like sugar crystals. That's usually a sign of that iris borer. Now, a lot of people, what they'll do if they're not sure, they'll just take and they'll squash down low and then go up high to kill the borer. I'm going to pull apart a little bit too. Oh, there it is. Yep. Usually when you have that brown leaf in the middle, and you can see that disease and that munching. So you can squeeze it. Personally, I cut it, but I have lots and lots of irises. So I think if I only had a small bunch, I would go ahead and just squeeze it. I'm looking over here. Usually they happen in clusters. And there's another brown leaf. I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to, personally, I'm going to chop all three. But again, if you have a limited amount of irises, you may want to just go ahead and squeeze it. When I cut off that stem, I can see a hole. I'm going to need to gouge down a little bit. That iris borer has already gone in. I feel I'm a little late on the borer hunting season, so that's another reason why I'm cutting down, is I have a feeling that some have entered the rhizome. All right, sometimes we're not as lucky to have a brown leaf, but I can see that definite chomp marks going on. And again, when I pull, all that is a sign that there's a worm at this time in that iris. This one doesn't look like it went to the base. So again, this one you could decide if you just wanted to squeeze it. That's so gross. I'm going to cut it because I just abhor them. All right, this one I already cut down. And you can see right in the middle there is a little dot. I don't know if I should gross you out or not, but that's the borer. Oh, there we go, squished out a little bit. Ew, that's so gross. I'm going to go ahead and show you what this might look like. So there's my iris borer leaves. Now some of these you can see at the top, this is more like scorched just from the sun. Some of this is just spotting. That happens a lot in irises. If you don't want it, as soon as you see it, you have to cut it off, because this is the kind of thing that once it touches another piece of foliage, it's going to go ahead and spot. And it's not a bad idea to check, because then you know if you got it or not. This one you may not notice right away, but one of the differences between an iris borer is it's got like a colored head that's like pink, and it looks like an eyeball staring at you. It's really gross. And I didn't trust myself with the first one that I saw, and it had clean insides, but it's clean. The thing is, I just think a brown leaf in the middle of the iris is not a good sign in general. I think a lot of diseases happen that way. So these iris borers, just a little background, start as like a black moth. You can see them on the internet. And it lays its eggs in the fall towards the top of the leaves. So that's a good reason to trim your leaves in the fall, about 6 inches from the base, and get rid of that foliage and the dry leaves. I pick through my iris garden all the time, trying to get rid of any kind of crusty leaves. And then it starts to mutate and turns into a worm around the time that the irises start blooming. And that's when you'll start to see some of these tracks. So I would just say, if you see some kind of gnawing at your irises, check it out. It might be something more, especially if there's a cluster of it. The last thing is I probably wouldn't put it on the ground like I did. I put it immediately in the garbage because I don't want any iris borer debris in my garden. You don't want to compost this either. Those are not good anymore.